Welcome to our hometown. We're here at the Brunswick County Courthouse to talk about judicial matters. My first guest is John David, who will speak to us about his experience as district attorney. And then we'll speak with Jackson Turturici, who is a student at South Brunswick High School, to talk about teen court. So stay with us as we explore more of our hometown. My guest is John David, the district attorney for Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen counties. John, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to be with you.
Thanks. John, let's start in the most broad of fashions. What does a district attorney do? You're an attorney, obviously, but take it from there.
You know, I guess in the most broad sense of the word, I prosecute all criminal matters on behalf of the state of North Carolina in a jurisdiction of the counties you named, Bladen, Brunswick, and Columbus.
Large counties.
When you put all three of them together, Jim, it's roughly the geographic size of the state of Delaware. So there's a lot of diversity, it's a lot of moving parts, and fortunately I have a team of 37 dedicated public servants to help me every day.
Great. John, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you landed in Brunswick County.
Well, so I was drawn to the criminal law and to this area by my twin brother, Ben. A few people know this, but I actually have an identical twin brother who's the elected DA in Wilmington.
Right.
That wasn't always the case. You know, we grew up together in Florida. I actually went to law school there and began my career as a prosecutor 23 years ago in Miami. Little town in South Florida has a small crime problem. I got a solid foundation of experiences while I was there. But my brother and I always wanted to work together, and so I relocated to the Wilmington area in 2001 so we could work together. The boss that hired us at the time, John Carricker, the district attorney, retired. My brother ran and won an election in Wilmington. A couple of years later, I ran and became the elected district attorney here in November of 2010. So I've been the DA now almost 9 years, the elected DA, but I've been, again, a career prosecutor.
I've heard you refer to it as a calling.
It really is. You know, speaking for the dead is an awesome responsibility. You know, I personally handle the murder cases and the police shootings, but I've prosecuted everything you can think of in a 23-year career, and it's the kind of job that really feeds your soul.
And even though you have a large staff, you continue to try cases.
I do. You know, I think it's important to lead from the front and keep one foot in the courtroom.
Right.
It's important, too, for the community to see you handling the biggest matters.
Yeah. John, let's talk about priorities. Every district attorney has to come out with his or her priorities. You have yours.
I do. You know, they say if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority, right? So for me, you know, I'd like to put the priority on the worst cases and worst defendants in the criminal justice system.
Sure, absolutely.
The rapists, the murderers, the career criminals, the drug dealers. I personally handle, again, the murder cases, but our priority seems to be the worst defendants in the worst cases.
Okay. Brunswick County is unique. We have 19 municipalities. Half or so of those have police departments.
Yeah.
We have a large sheriff's department. And so your efforts in coordinating all that are substantial.
Well, it is. You know, part of my job is to be the legal advisor to all law enforcement.
Correct, yeah.
And so, you know, we frequently get out into the individual departments, into the municipalities to interface with the law enforcement leaders. I like to call it a police prosecutor team approach to fighting crime. And so, you know, I think they're in the best position to know who the worst offenders are in their community and what are the biggest cases. And so we really try to make our world smaller by constantly coordinating our efforts and making sure that the focus of the criminal justice system is where it should be.
You know, if we read the local papers, we will read about person Smith charged or convicted of this crime or that, but frequently we're not aware and we don't focus much on the victims.
Yeah.
Your office spends a good bit of time working with the victims, spending time with them from the period of the charge to the conviction or the conclusion of the case. Talk about that for a second.
Well, giving victims a voice is really the priority of my office. You know, we understand that we're their surrogate in the courtroom.
Right.
And so about half of my staff of 37 people are victim witness coordinators and the other half are attorneys.
Really?
And so the victim witness coordinators are there to sort of shepherd them through the process, to make sure that we're coordinating with law enforcement, getting the reports we need, getting subpoenas out, but also to explain and demystify the process to the people that are pulled in, to the system and make sure that they understand what's happening and giving as much input and feedback as possible. And again, giving a voice.
Right. You have specialists that spend all of their time on that matter.
I do.
Yeah.
We sort of divide cases within the criminal justice system by area of specialty.
Okay.
I have child sex prosecutors, I have homicide prosecutors, I have folks who specialize in district court where the bulk of our cases come in. I have drug prosecutors. Obviously the opioid crisis has hit Brunswick County very hard. And so, I want to make sure that we're at the forefront of not only prevention efforts, but also prosecution efforts for the people that need it.
Let's talk some more about that. It seems to me that crime is so directly associated with alcohol abuse and drug abuse of various types. It seems to me a lot of young men and women would not have committed whatever crime they committed were it not for those two issues.
You're absolutely right, Jim. I think there's a community misconception that all criminals are somehow evil people.
Right.
And in fact, that's not the case. We have bad people, to be sure, in the criminal justice system, but more often we have good people with bad problems and good people that make bad decisions. And what's driving a lot of this behavior, at root of it, is an addiction to drugs or alcohol.
Right.
Or, they're committing crimes, what I call secondary deviants to feed an addiction.
Right. We talked about all three counties. You obviously can't be in all three counties at the same time. What's your daily routine like, if there is one?
Well, when people hear about a case in a three-county area, they think, oh, this is John's responsibility. When in fact, I have 37 people that work with me. And so I manage my time depending on what the need is of that moment. There's a delicate balance in the criminal justice system between dealing with the urgency of what's happening right now,
right,
and then what I call the ghost of Christmas past. Because when you're dealing with a murder case, it'll frequently come up to the court system a year, 2 years after the incident itself.
Sure,
and
sure.
so you have to focus your time and attention to the county that needs it the most at that moment, and always keep that balance going between dealing with what's present and then what's dealt with in the past.
Let's talk about the big picture. I know that you keep an eye on numbers, and I know part of your charge is to keep the numbers as low as reasonably possible.
Yeah.
What are the numbers like in recent years, and what do you project in the future?
Well, they say crime's a growth industry, right? And unfortunately, I have more job security than almost anybody in the county. Having said that, one of the things that I've done as district attorney is really try to channel and group and batch like-minded cases for judicial efficiency. And so for instance, traffic court matters, even though that's a police contact where a citizen was pulled over by an officer of the law, it's important to recognize that that's not a criminal that deserves to be treated the same as anybody else in the courthouse. And so we've created traffic courts and felony H&I court to channel the low-level stuff to one place at one time so we can sort of pluck those cases out of the system and free up valuable courtroom space for the stuff that actually matters, the rapists, the murderers, the habitual offenders.
That's a perfect segue to traffic court. Our viewers will be interested to know that every other Wednesday, you and others within the courthouse process 1,000, sometimes 1,200 or 1,300 cases in one morning. How's that done?
Well, it's one of the very best things that we've implemented,
It is.
Here in Brunswick County. And what we've effectively been able to do is handle 1,000, 1,500 cases in the morning before 9:30, before the judge even gets onto the bench.
And these are the people with very, very minor offenses.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Prior to my becoming district attorney, a person who would get, for instance, a registration violation would get a ticket commanding them to be in a courtroom, and they'd be sitting there for hours next to someone charged with assault or larceny,
right,
or a drug offense. And what we recognize, in line with statewide best practices, is that you can put them in a courtroom before the judge gets there, deal with it administratively. I'll platoon a lot of my staff there,
right,
and we can mill through that line and deal with the minor things very quickly and save the courtroom time for the bigger cases.
John, in the broadest sense, what do you see in the years to come?
Well, unfortunately, bad things happen to good people wherever you're at and wherever you happen to find yourself. And so, I think we're going to still continue to have your sensational cases crop up
Sure.
now and then. I think the opioid crisis, we're starting to get our arms around that issue, and it's starting to abate a little bit. That's driving a lot of the secondary deviants like the breaking and enterings and things of that sort.
Sure, sure.
But I think, things are fairly status quo from the standpoint that crime levels are fairly constant. I think there's a greater professionalism on behalf of our law enforcement community. They're giving us better cases. And we are seeing a real dip in violent crime, not just here at the local level,
But nationally?
regionally and nationally.
Right.
I think there's been Our strategies of targeting what I call surgical strikes against the worst offenders, focused deterrence seems to be working. If you target the right guys and you put them in prison, it drops your overall violent crime rate. And that's certainly happening here and across the country.
Right.
My name is Maude Kelly, and I'm the president and founder of Helpers of Our Farm. My husband and I moved here from Charlotte in 2012, and as we were helping my parents develop the farm as agritourism, I begged to start a rescue petting farm. Our hope is that through our education, that people make better choices when they go to get an animal. Another program that we've added within the last couple years is our mobile program. So as you can see, these are some of our animals we take out. Prior to receiving our grant from ATMC, we were borrowing corrals. So now that we have our own set, we're able to answer calls that come in for asking for this program. It also allows us, this Saturday we're doing a little fundraiser down the road, and we're going to be using our corrals. When places like ATMC gives us money, it hits at our heart, and it means a lot to us. I get emotional, see? As a nonprofit, you always are thinking about income, but to me, what I just want to always think about is how I can change people's lives. So ATMC is helping us do that.
I went on a trip similar to this in 2015 out of Augusta, Georgia. And it was the first time I had seen the Vietnam Wall with veterans who were actually there. And it's a different experience for a vet to see that wall. And so I brought it up post-68 that we should do that for veterans in the area. Basically just went door to door to businesses in Brunswick County asking for support and contributions of any kind. We called on ATMC. They were able to make a significant contribution. Some of my veteran experiences in other places wasn't that kind of support, and here it's special.
When you went through the different monuments, you felt like you were a part of that history, even though you are just there. I think it's very positive, very encouraging. There's a lot of distractions going on right now, politically and socially and otherwise, but at least you know that there's a portion of society that recognizes what the sacrifices were and recognizes them.
But it means at least there's somebody that remembers what we did in World War II, and I appreciate the fact that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be going on any of their trips.
We're back with John David. John, I want you to exchange hats. I want to talk a little bit about Teen Court. Teen Court, we know, is celebrating its 20th anniversary here in Brunswick County. It's a great success story, and our viewers will be very interested to know a little more about Teen Court.
Well, you know, Jim, it's a program that's near and dear to my heart. I think it's one of the very best things we do in the criminal justice system because it really strikes an appropriate balance between second chances on the one hand and a teaching moment on the other. Simply stated, it's a diversionary program for kids when they get in trouble, frequently in the school environment.
For minor offenses.
For minor offenses for first-time offenders.
Right.
Well, instead of taking them to the traditional court system, we'll bring them into this diversionary process where other students act as the participants, the trial lawyers, the jury, and they'll literally learn by doing and put a fellow student on trial for their offenses, but it'll be taken out of the court system so that it's not going to be a permanent mark on anyone's record.
And as peculiar as it sounds, it really works.
It really does. It's literally one of the things that they've identified statewide as just the best practice. And I'm very proud that Brunswick County is one of the first to be a pioneer in this area, and it really enjoys a reputation statewide as being the premier program.
I'm sure it is. We're going to ask one of our students to join us in a minute, but let's talk more about the benefits of the program. One that comes to my mind is that these students get on their feet, they acquire public speaking skills, they acquire advocacy skills. Some of them, in fact, have gone on to the law profession. but other professions as well, of course. And we've seen these students succeed at higher levels than one might expect.
Well, I think kids learn by doing, and it's very experiential. And so what happens frequently is kids are inspired by their teen court experience so much that they'll major in criminal justice, they'll go off to law school. I've hired members of my staff who first fell in love with the law as a participant in teen court here in Brunswick County years ago.
But let's also say the offenders can benefit similarly.
Tremendously. First of all, we know that recidivism, that is the likelihood of reoffense, is significantly down when kids pass through this program. They learn from their experience, it's a teaching moment, and they become a better version of themselves. And so we rarely see people who go through this program go on to commit further offenses in our school system.
And it's based on the principle, we understand it, of being tried by one's peers, and those peers are one's fellow students.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I want to emphasize that this is really a collaborative relationship. It's run through the district attorney's office. Communities and Schools has been our partner for all 20 years.
I wanted to focus on communities and schools and talk about that a little bit.
Sure. They've been a huge partner to us. They've connected us with a motivated group of volunteers, many of whom are the retirees living in this area.
Right.
And they act as mentors. They bring life experiences from all over the country and teach kids about responsibility, about proper etiquette in the courtroom. And it's just a wonderful relationship that we have with CIS. And then the county also gives us money to help fund this program too. So the Juvenile Justice Crime Prevention Council gives statewide dollars. The county matches a lot of that. CIS becomes an invaluable partner to us. And we just got a great thing going here in Brunswick County.
And the actual hearings, if we could call it that, occur right in the courtrooms.
They're right in the courtrooms once a month on a Tuesday night. Yeah. I'm very fortunate that I was able to recently hire a new director for our teen court program, who himself is a 30-year lawman here in Brunswick County. He was a detective with the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office for in excess of 30 years. His name is Sam Davis. I
was about to say he's with us here today, and we'll give him a plug.
Well, great. He does a wonderful job, and I think it really underscores the fact that this is real life law and order. Despite the fact that it's a diversionary program and the charges are going to stay off someone's record, we have actual participants in the process training these kids, working with these kids. Real life judges come in and frequently act as the judge.
That's true.
We have members from my staff who are prosecutors, train them on courtroom techniques, and so it's a dynamic program.
And let's not forget, in fact, let's make the point that all of those cases that are heard in teen court are cases that don't have to be heard within the conventional court system.
Yeah, once again, if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority. So we want to make sure that the stuff that ends in the courtroom are the people that need it, and the cases that absolutely need attention. For the vast majority of youthful indiscretions, they're better off handled in a diversionary setting, and this is just a win-win program.
John David, thank you for almost 10 years, hopefully 10 or 20 more. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm privileged to work with you.
Well, thank you, Jim. I got a great staff around me. Your job gets a lot easier when you hire the right people.
Thanks, and we're going to move on in just a moment to Jason Turici and talk to him more about teen court. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Having done some research, everybody has access to research today, Google and everything else, but I didn't want to put something so important as my family's security of my property, to something that I did myself. It really was not a tough decision for me to go with ATMC. Peace of mind is the biggest thing that I receive from the system. Not only can I monitor my home inside and out while I'm away, but not long after our home had been broken into, my grandson was there, and he said, Papa, can you turn the alarm on tonight? And so that's gold to me, to know that he felt more comfortable at night, that he was protected by something other than, even though he knows I will protect him, there was something else.
COAST stands for the Center of Applied Sciences and Technology. It's our first STEM school in our county, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics school in our county. If we look around, we see drones used for everything, for many things, from live events to search and rescue missions to advertising. So I thought that we could cross-curricular with the business program here and create videos advertising our school, being that we were recently rebranded. We start learning about the history of technology. We move on to technological systems, technology innovations and inventions, so they really fit into our curriculum. The excitement is phenomenal with the students. They're totally engaged, learning hands-on. We are so grateful here at the Coast to ATMC for this grant. It's afforded an opportunity for our students that they would never have. They're able to have real hands-on experience with cutting-edge technology, and without ATMC's support, it wouldn't be possible. So we thank you guys very, very much.
My guest is Jackson Tertrici. Jackson, how did I pronounce your name?
Very great. Excellent job.
Thank you. You are you're a student at South Brunswick High School.
Yes, sir. I'm in my sophomore year.
And you're an avid student and proponent of teen court.
Yes, sir. It's a great program.
And you've had a good bit of experience in teen court.
Yes, sir. Coming up on 6 years.
No kidding.
Yes, sir. Through the teen court and the peer court program.
Okay. Well, thanks for all that you're doing.
Yes, sir.
You've been a defense attorney, a juror, a prosecuting attorney within this court system, maybe others. Tell us a little bit about what you've done.
Yes, sir. So I started out as a juror.
Okay.
Kind of learning through my family, learning through my sister and great mentors, just how the court system worked, how it all kind of fell through the program, and how the information about students in different schools came down into everybody else. And then I kind of got the desire to do more, to work higher up through the courtroom, to maybe even do a defense attorney, or maybe go to some classes and work my way up to a prosecution attorney and start doing it more and more and learning and grasping more of the concept of the real world.
Let's say you're a prosecuting attorney next week.
Yes,
how
sir.
soon do you know of the cases you're going to be heard, and how much do you prepare for that?
So Sam Davis is really great about getting the information out. He's great about getting us our cases and our scheduling information usually a week before. And usually I'll prepare. I'm a proponent to speaking on the fly, so I'll jot down my facts and my information, and then I'll have my opening and my closing statements all to myself.
All right. And the other parties are also students.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back to the jury for just a minute. You said you first served on a jury.
Yes, sir.
I've been told that student juries can be as tough on a defendant as normal juries. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I completely get that, because not only are they just students, but they're your peers. So they understand what you're going through, the same situation, so they understand the background and the justification of everything.
It also creates a great deal of respect between the parties.
Yes, sir.
Because they understand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They do understand.
Yeah. How many schools are parties to teen court?
There are 5 schools.
Okay. You must also get to know the fellow students at the other schools, which is pretty
Yes, sir.
rewarding in its own right.
Yes, sir. Not only through athletics, but this program as well.
Yeah. You have a lot of adult volunteers that serve either as mentors or counselors, or in some cases as judges.
Yes, sir. And that helps a lot with the learning process of not only but the defendants, but the volunteers and the students such as myself who come out. Those mentors and those judges teach us so much about the courtroom and real life as well.
Yeah. Are you interested in pursuing a career in the courts, within the court system?
Yes, sir. I believe I am. This has brought up a lot of interest and a lot of intrigue, not only in my family, but in my life personally. And it's helped me kind of grow and work on public speaking, and involves a lot of different things in my life as well.
Well, it creates confidence in public speaking. It creates the opportunity to get to know people, to build relationships.
Yes, sir.
The opportunity to be on your feet,
Yes, sir.
which is very important. We know that a very small proportion of Americans are willing to involve themselves in public speaking. And so you have a big opportunity ahead of the others just by virtue of your willingness to be a public speaker.
Yes, sir. Not only, it helps with confidence as well.
Absolutely.
Standing up in front of a jury, in front of a judge, a courtroom, and just speaking for someone, speaking against someone.
What do you see for the future?
Oh, that's a pretty big question.
Okay.
I see myself in this program for a few more years through high school, pursuing this to its fullest ability, and then hopefully a career through college.
Good. Jackson, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
You're terrific.
The COAST stands for the Center of Applied Sciences and Technology. It's our first STEM school in our county, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics school in our county. If we look around, we see drones used for everything, for many things, from live events to search and rescue missions to advertising. So I thought that we could cross-curricular with the business program here and create videos advertising our school, being that we were recently rebranded. We start learning about the history of technology. We move on to technological systems, technology innovations and inventions, so they really fit into our curriculum. The excitement is phenomenal with the students. They're totally engaged, learning hands-on. We are so grateful here at the Coast to ATMC for this grant. It's afforded an opportunity for our students that they would never have. They're able to have real hands-on experience with cutting-edge technology, and without ATMC's support, it wouldn't be possible. So we thank you guys very, very much.
Having done some research, everybody has access to research today, Google and everything else, but I didn't want to put something so important as my family's security of my property, to something that I did myself. It really was not a tough decision for me to go with ATMC. Peace of mind is the biggest thing that I receive from the system. Not only can I monitor my home inside and out while I'm away, but not long after our home had been broken into, my grandson was there and he said, Papa, can you turn the alarm on tonight? And so that's gold to me, to know that he felt more comfortable at night, that he was protected by something other than, even though he knows I will protect him, there was something else.
Well, the Bouncing Off the Walls program came about because we were having difficulty completing tasks and just finishing any work, whether it was in a small group or individual work, because of inattention and lack of focus and needing to move. And so the movement usually involved getting up, walking around, pacing, jumping up and down, finding something else to do. So it just interfered with the overall production and getting educational activities completed. Bouncing Off the Walls program was an idea of, we feel like sometimes we're just bouncing off the wall, we need some more movement. They do go to PE as a class, but it's not enough. And so having the fitness balls as part of their seating, alternative seating, it gave them a chance to be at their seat, still completing work, but moving by bouncing on the balls. So it's been super helpful, and we've seen a great increase in ability to focus for up to 20 minutes at a time, which is a long time, to sit, to bounce. We've been able to use the fitness balls getting up and actually taking them out of the seat and doing things with them. We're so appreciative to receive the ATMC grant that afforded us the opportunity to have alternative seating, which would not been within our budget for supplies this year, and give student choice to be able to stay focused at school, helps learning, helps them stay active as well.
Thanks for being with us on Our Hometown. If you have a story that you'd like to share, contact us at atmctv@atmc.com. Thanks again for being with us, and join us again on Our Hometown.